PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Do you ever feel like you're normal and the rest of the world has lost its collective mind?
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Do you find people saying this to you a lot?
Are you totally deranged?
Are you looking for a looking glass to pass through?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Or looking for a rabbit hole to fall down?
Who could think of a better punishment, really? Everything's the same here, it's just a little worse.
Guess what?
Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
You found it. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden.
Hello, my darlings. This is Platinum Rose Lady welcoming you to Platinum Rose's Garden on April 7th, which is a Sunday of 2019. Oh boy. I hope everybody had a great week. My last weekend this week was pretty good. Can't really complain all that much. We've been away for a little bit. We took a little mini vacay and went up to Salem, Massachusetts to go to the Salem Film Fest, we being my husband and I. We had a fantastic time. I love Salem. It's probably my favorite place in the world. I just love Salem. I love the vibe in Salem, Massachusetts. It's amazing and incredible, and you always feel very welcome there. I always feel very welcome there. And we stayed at the Salem Waterfront Hotel, which is an awesome place to stay. If you ever come to Salem for anything, which I totally hope you do because it's a great place, you definitely need to stay there because they're really nice and they take really super good care of you. And it was a lot of fun. We saw some really great movies. We saw 8 films in 4 days or something like that. It was mad. No, 3 days. 8 films in 3 days. It was madness. But it was a lot of fun. And thanks so much to all of the filmmakers that made these amazing movies, that taught us a lot of stuff. The Salem Film Fest is an all documentary film festival. And I know some people must be like, oh, that must be wicked boring. But it's actually not. It's really, really great and just so much fun. And I had such a great time. And we went back to work this week, so it's back to the old grind and getting back used to it's you go on vacation, your time is kind of your own, even though you have like an itinerary where you have to go do this, that, and the other thing. But then when you're back to work, you're like, oh, it's back to work. My life's not mine anymore. That's kind of like lah, but pays the bills, right? So this week's episode, boy, this was, wow. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but first, I do have a little bit of talking to do about a site and that I want you guys to check out if you get a chance, because I think it's really cool. Okay, this week's site that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and hopefully you'll go take a listen to or check them out, because they're really, really great. They're really super funny, and they do some really clever stuff. It's a site called Epic Rap Battles of History. You can check them out at their website, which is erbofhistory.com. You can also check them out on YouTube. Just type in Epic Rap Battles of History in the little searchy little thing up at the top with the magnifying glass, and that'll take you to their stuff. These guys, oh my gosh, they're so funny. Peter Shukoff, I hope I said that right, who is also known as Nice Peter, and Lloyd Alquist, aka Epic Lloyd. And Lloyd, I hope I said your name even close to correctly, because I probably just butchered it. Sorry. They have put together this site, and it's a scream. I'm telling you guys, these guys are so wicked funny. There are 5 seasons up so far, 71 episodes. I mean, that's nuts. and what they do is they will pick characters, they will play the characters, or they have other people come in sometimes, including people as varied as Weird Al Yankovic and Snoop Dogg and people in between, and also some other people who are, internet celebrities, people like Lily Singh, George Watsky, people like that, and have them come in and play the characters. Now, the way that Epic Rap Battles of History goes is like, y'all know what a rap battle is, right? I mean, you have to be like probably Amish to not know what a rap battle is. And if you're Amish, you're not listening to this podcast. It's you get two people and they, sling back some words against each other to see who comes out on top. And the way this works is the fans in the comments say who they think wins the rap battle that they watch. Now, the difference is that these rap battles are all people from history, and they're not always real people. Sometimes they're fictional characters. Sometimes they are with real people, including with real people that would never actually have a chance to meet each other. People like, trying to think of some of the ones that, Stan Lee versus Jim Henson was an interesting one. That was a good one. And, it's all these other people. And they also do things between rap battles between fictional characters like Sherlock Holmes versus Batman, or, Jack the Ripper, who was a real person, but nobody knows who they were, although some people have some DNA stuff now that says, we found him. And, Jack the Ripper against Hannibal Lecter, or Adolf Hitler against, who was a very real person, unfortunately, against Darth Vader, stuff like that. And just all kinds of in between, real people versus real people, fictional characters versus fictional characters versus real people, so on and so forth, back and forth like that. One of those that was really funny was, Bonnie and Clyde versus Romeo and Juliet. I was like, that's really good. And like the Ghostbusters against the Mythbusters and stuff like that. So far, they haven't done anything with the Winchester brothers, which is probably a good idea. Because I mean, parody is one thing, and it's, we're all about taking the piss out of each other, and that's fine, and why so serious and all that. But I do know that some Supernatural fans can get an eensy bit sensitive if they think somebody's making fun of Sam and Dean. I'm not including myself in that category because hopefully I'm not quite that deranged yet. Like I said, if you'd like to check them out, please do so over at erbofhistory.com. ERB of history is all one word. And you can also leave them suggestions for ideas for upcoming rap battles, or just leave them a note saying, hey, you're awesome, or whatever. If you do get in touch with them, please let them know that you heard about them here on Platinum Rose's Garden, because that would be very, very cool. And now that this fun part of the show is out of the way, let's get to the thing that y'all really came for, this week's Supernatural episode recap.
Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest.
Season 14, Episode 17 of Supernatural, Game Night. The then is dealing with Jack regaining his grace and his powers after killing Michael and absorbing Michael's grace, but at what cost? We don't know how much of Jack's soul is left, if anything. And also the then part is dealing with Anael, an angel that was masquerading on Earth, and possibly still is, as a faith healer named Sister Joe. And also we're dealing with Nick. Nick, the man that had held Lucifer and been Lucifer's vessel, early on in season 5 and all that, and later on came back and was still Lucifer's vessel until Lucifer died, but apparently either was tainted by Lucifer's evil or has always been a bad person, and Lucifer just lit that fuse because he wants to be Lucifer's vessel again, which is, even to the point of rejecting Lucifer in front of his dead wife, which would have released his wife from the ghostly existence she has right now. And also Donatello Redfield, the prophet whose soul was eaten by Amara. And also the fact that Jack is hiding the truth about the fact that he had used his powers, and is using them, and hiding that from the Winchesters. And now we are at Now. And Now is in Lewis, Oklahoma, where Donatello lives, apparently. And he is cooking and baking. We see him baking cookies as he's singing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, just kind of humming it. You know, seriously, for someone that doesn't have a soul, he seems really, like, happy and content and settled and stuff like that, so good for him. There's a knock on the door, and when he opens the door, he's attacked by somebody. We don't see their face. We do see from the build and stuff that it is a man, and from the look of it, they are alone. They attack him, get into his house, bum rush him into the house, and they tie Donatello to his own table and shoot him in the neck with some kind of a needle. We can't see what's in the needle because the outside of the glass, I shouldn't say glass, the outside of the syringe part of the needle, I am so up on my medical technology, aren't I? It's not clear, so we can't see what color the fluid is that's in the needle. As Donatello is screaming because, hello, he's tied to a table being shot up in the neck by who knows who, and we get the opening credits. We come back at the Batcave in Lebanon, Kansas, and we see Dean setting up a game, which looks for all the world like it's Hasbro's Mousetrap, which I remember from when I was a child. I never played it when I was a child, simply because I just never did. I don't know why. And we see Jack out in the kitchen making popcorn, and Mary's out there as well, and we hear Dean swearing as he's setting the game up. That's another quarter in the swear jar. Mary says that she's worried about Jack, that they're all concerned about Jack, and Jack says he knows, and he's also a little snippy with Mary. He says her concern, because everyone keeps asking how he's doing, and she says that that's their job because they're family, and he says that's annoying. Okay, good talk. As it turns out, Sam's not there at the moment because he went to get pizza. But apparently Dean's phone was somewhere where he couldn't hear it buzzing or whatever, because he gets told that he's got a call on his phone. He picks up the phone. There's a voice message. It's a call from Donatello, and all of a sudden you can tell that something's really wrong from Dean's body language and everything. And he plays what he hears on the phone, which is a plea for help. It's Donatello asking for help. But at the end of where he's pleading for Sam and Dean to come help him, Donatello starts speaking in this other language. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I mean, it doesn't sound like any kind of language I've ever heard before. I mean, it does sound like very old, whatever it is. It sounds like a very old language. The thing is that he finds that out because Mary gave him his phone, and they can't get a hold of Sam because his phone's apparently outside of the Batcave. It's hard to get reception. And so Dean and Mary decide they're going to drive to Donatello's to see what's going on, and Jack stays behind because he'll have to let Sam know what's up. We see Castiel in a diner, and he's meeting with Anael and gives her a gift, bribe, offering of services, I don't know how you want to word it, of a pair of expensive, old, and slightly cursed earrings. He does tell her straight up front that they are slightly cursed, but it's slightly cursed in a way that wouldn't affect an angel, so points for honesty. As it turns out, Anael wasn't as open with what she used to do in heaven. She just said that she was a button pusher and all that stuff before. As it turns out, Anael did a little more than that. She had actually been demoted. Originally, she was a right-hand angel of Joshua, the angel that had spoken directly with God. And that Castiel wants to find God, and he wants Anael's help to do it because he wants God to be able to restore Jack's soul. Because Anael brings up that, according to what everyone says, the only one who can completely restore someone's soul is God, which makes sense since God put your soul in you in the first place. That makes sense. NIL says that she won't help Castiel, but she will take him to someone who might be able to help. So we cut back to Dean and Mary driving to rescue Donatello, or at least find out what the heck's going on. Sam calls them while they're driving, and Sam tells Dean that what Donatello was saying, the language he was using, it's ancient Hebrew. And, that's obviously, that's going to take a little translating because, the word ancient on there means nobody else speaks it, so it's not exactly something you can hook up to Babelfish and, hope for the best. Mary's worried about Jack and about Sam and Dean and, the whole situation. And she also, from the way she's talking, she feels guilty. I think she still feels guilty about leaving earlier on when she left after the foundry. She was gone for a little while because she was just trying to get her head back together and stuff. And she says to Dean that she can be closed off and she can be hard. And Dean's like, that's where he gets it from. But she says to him that she needs to know that she's great. She wants him to know how grateful she is that she's able to be with him and Sam again. That she's obviously very proud that her sons grew up into, these big, strong, strapping men that are hunters and have saved the world like a kabillion times. I mean, the Avengers and the JLA got nothing on the Winchesters, seriously. So we cut back to the Batcave, and also Dean wouldn't let his mother run herself down, which I thought was really cool because Dean's obviously very much like, he's a good son. He's a good son, doesn't want his mom to feel sad. He's a good guy. We cut back to the Batcave with Sam and Jack trying to translate, more Sam because he knows he knows how to do that stuff because he's Sam and he's just super awesome and smart like that. Hashtag loyal Samazon. Sam works out the translation of what Donatello said, and that it was from the Bible. I mean, directly from the Bible. A warning from Peter. It's talking about the devil, and the devil being, loose and his plans and stuff like that, and wandering like a lion and all that. It's very bad, foreboding stuff. Obviously. Mary and Dean make it to Donatello's place. They hear Donatello calling for help from Sam and Dean, calling to Sam and Dean to help him and stuff, and they rush into the house. As it turns out, it's not Donatello. It's a recording of Donatello's voice on a phone. It's on the table where Donatello had been tied to, and the person who attacked Donatello in the first place is still there waiting for them. And it's Nick, who we saw, kill a cop to escape, and we knew he was out there. So, Dean manages to handcuff Nick pretty easily. It's not like Nick put up any kind of fight. While Mary searches the house for Donatello, and Nick brings up that he's killed a lot of people, and that what he injected Donatello with was thallium, which apparently is something that it will kill you within a day. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good, obviously. Nick has Donatello prisoner somewhere else, but there's like a live feed set up so they can see him through the phone. Nick says that he wants to talk. So then we cut to Castiel and NIL going to Orlando's Emporium, where they meet a man called Methuselah, which, if it's that Methuselah, he looks pretty good for someone who's over 900 years old. Methuselah in the Bible was the grandfather, I think, of Noah. I'm not entirely certain. Yes. He was Noah's grandfather. And that, according to the Bible anyway, he was the person who lived the longest. He lived to be 969 years old. So if this dude is 969 years old, I really want the beauty cream that he uses because he looks great. he's not very impressed that he's got two angels standing in front of him. Okay. And he basically kind of waves it off. As it turns out, he and Joshua lived together. He referred to Joshua as his roommate. When heaven was closed and the angels fell, Joshua lived with Methuselah. Methuselah said he made a mean lasagna. So they were close enough to be roommates, but not really friends. And he doesn't really seem all that impressed or really care that, there's these two angels here looking for help in wanting to talk to God. Nor is he very impressed by Castiel's threat that he'll burn the place down with him in it if he doesn't get what he wants. Like I said, not really very helpful. We cut back to the Batcave where we see, Dean and Mary bringing a handcuffed Nick walking him through the corridors of the Batcave, and we see them being met in the corridor by Jack and Sam, and it's all done in slow motion, and it's really, really cool when they see each other, and just the look, for a minute, the look on Sam's face is just complete naked fear. It's fear. I mean, and then Sam's brain kicks in and goes, this isn't Lucifer, this is just Nick. Nick, who you tried to give a second chance to and spit in your face. And the absolute fury on Sam's face and the way that he launches himself to attack Nick like this enraged jungle predator is very frightening, illuminating, and possibly also turned me on a little bit. Hashtag not talking. It just kind of it's a really powerful scene, even though nothing gets said at first, because it reminds you that for all of the fact that Sam has, these amazing puppy eyes, and Sam can be sweet and compassionate and compelling and smart and funny and all this other, and all these other amazing, positive, good things, when Sam gets pissed off, run. Run, Forrest, run. 'Cause an angry Sam Winchester is somebody that you've heard the phrase, you're beautiful when you're angry. When Sam's angry, he's gorgeous and also terrifying. It's like, but, Dean manages to keep him from bashing, Nick's head into the wall too much, unfortunately. Sam tells them they've got a cure already in the Batcave for thallium poisoning, and that Sam thinks that he might be able to hack into the live feed where Donatello is, and they can try and figure out that way where he is. Dean wants to interrogate Nick, and Sam's all for that, and Dean's like, no, we're not having you in on this, because that's a terrible idea. Sam basically blames himself for all of the things that Nick has done, all of the terrible things that he's done. And I'm like, it's not your fault, gorgeous. Please don't do this to yourself. Mary won't let him, which is just awesome. And Mary says that she's proud of him. And I was like, that's so sweet. I'm like, I'm not going to cry. Dang it. We cut back to Orlando's place, and Castiel and Anael are still searching. Anael thinks that even if they find this, as she refers to it, Joshua's bat phone, that God won't answer them. And Anael says that, she keeps telling Castiel that she's happy. She's happy with material things. She's happy with being on earth and not having to deal with all of the stuff in heaven. And if God really wanted to, these were God's perfect people, why does he let them suffer, and so on and so forth. Castiel doesn't really seem very convinced with what she's saying. We cut to Dean interrogating Nick, and by interrogating, I mean beating the heck out of him, which I was sitting there going, yay! Do it! Hit him again, harder. And Nick's trying to kind of get into Dean's head, saying that they have things that are in common. They've both been archangel vessels and stuff like that. But he also turns it around and also tells Dean that because Dean did, he was Michael's vessel and now he's not, that he calls Dean broken and all this stuff like that. And I'm like, by the white tree of Gondor, I really hate you. It's very hard to try and think up swears when you've given up swearing for Lent. And Nick says that he wants to see his son. And I'm like, what son? And then he means Jack. And I'm like, what the frog? Jack's not your son. Jack's Lucifer's son. You're not Lucifer anymore. Also, Jack is technically the president's son, because, maybe, I guess, I don't know. DNA is hard. Jack's all for it. Jack's like, yes, I'll talk to him. I'm not afraid and all this stuff like that. Sam says that he feels like they don't have any choice. Dean and Mary are not really happy with this. Dean's of the opinion that, Nick's crazy, F him. And Mary's worried, for Jack's safety. They're all worried for Jack's safety. But Jack goes in and talks to Nick. Needless to say, it's really tense and not fun. With Nick bringing up that Lucifer loved Jack and that Lucifer felt like he tells Jack that he broke Lucifer's heart and all this stuff like that back when he still had a soul and all this stuff like that. And that gets, obviously gets Jack upset. It gets him upset enough that he leans in closer to, out of anger, leaning in to talk to somebody, and Nick headbutts him. Hard enough to draw blood. Jack's face is just covered with blood, and I'm like, that's it! Okay, we've reached rage level 9000. Yes, that was a Dragon Ball Z reference for all you listeners out there. I'm like, that's it, you're dead. Jack heals himself and kind of stands over Nick. Nick keeps babbling apologies and Jack's eyes are going golden, and I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna fall to the dark side. Oh crap! I'm like, no, don't fall to the dark side, Jack. No, please come over with me. Join the fabulous side. We've got cookies with glitter on them. I'm sorry. Nick's whole thing about, Lucifer loved you. Yeah, Lucifer loved you so much that he stole his son's grace. F you and the horse you rode in on. And we get to commercial. When we come back, Jack, shuts the door behind him from the room Nick's locked in, and everybody's outside waiting. And he tells the Winchesters that he knows where Donatello is. Back at Orlando's, Anael and Castiel are still searching for whatever Joshua's device to call God is. They don't even know. And Anael says that, they start talking about Jack, and she tells Castiel that, she knows why Cass is doing this, because he doesn't want to have to tell the Winchesters the truth that Jack's soul is gone. Because I think we all know why. Because if Castiel tells Sam and Dean that Jack's soul is gone, Sam and Dean are going to have to look for a way to contain Jack. Because let's be perfectly honest here, you can't have an archangel. Well, he's not an archangel, he's an Nephilium. You can't have a Nephilium running around fully powered with no soul. That is a very bad thing, and that's very bad thing, all in caps, bold, and underlined. Castiel won't even, respond with that. And as they're getting ready to leave, Anael picks up her very expensive looking purse, and Castiel notices an amulet in a pile of other amulets in necklaces and things. And he says that he's seen this before. And he picks it up, and it looks an awful lot like the amulet that Dean had. The one that Sam gave him all those years ago that was supposed to glow in the presence of God. That you all remember that amulet. It's not exactly the same, but it's super duper close. So Castiel tries to use it to contact God, and nothing happens. And Methuselah brings up that it didn't work for Joshua either. So that little kernel of information would have been really useful about 5 seconds ago. Thank you so much. Crying out loud. We see Sam and Dean heading out in Baby to go to where Donatello's being held. Dean goes to go check out the building, and Sam stays in the Impala guarding Nick, who's in the back seat still handcuffed. Castiel and Anael part outside of Orlando's. Anael says she'll get a taxi, and Castiel tells her that he is going to tell the Winchesters the truth about Jack. Back at the Batcave, Jack is helping Mary look through the bunch of objects that Nick apparently left behind at Donatello's house, and Jack picks up the needle that Nick used to inject the thallium into Donatello's neck, and Jack gets this weird look on his face, and he uses his powers, and he tells Mary that the needle wasn't full of thallium, it was full of angel grace. Nick in the car is getting on Sam's nerves by singing when the phone comes on and just basically being annoying. Sam gets out of the car. I'm like, oh, no, that's a bad idea, Sam. And it's Mary on the phone with Sam telling him what she's just learned from Jack. Dean finds Donatello tied up inside this building as Nick is trying to get his handcuffs off with a key, and Sam winds up finding out the truth that Nick actually used Donatello to contact Lucifer in the empty, like way back in that scene when Azazel used that dead nun to talk to Lucifer when Lucifer was trapped in the cage in hell, and he was talking about the special child and all that stuff. It's like that after shooting Donatello up with angel grace, Nick was able to talk to Lucifer in the empty, and as it turns out, Nick's been getting help. You know, the whole thing about how he was hiding from the cops and hiding, how he's been able to do all this stuff and how he was able to get the angel grace and all of that stuff. Nick's been getting help from demons because according to him, the demons want Lucifer back. So that's what he's been trying to do, is get Lucifer back, and that's why he goaded Jack into getting close enough so he could get some of his blood, because he intends to contact and bring Lucifer back from the empty and be his vessel again. And I'm like, what the actual, are you effing nuts? As all of this is going on, Dean is trying to rescue Donatello, but is also getting attacked by demons inside the building. Sam and Nick have this enormous fight where Sam almost strangles Nick, but manages to bring himself back from the brink of doing it, because that's not the person Sam is. And it only takes a moment of hesitation, and Nick attacks Sam, hits him with a rock, hits him repeatedly. Sam, even though he's been struck in the head and is probably very, very woozy, manages to get inside the Impala. I don't think he locked the door, and starts banging on Baby's horn to get Dean's attention. And Dean's trying to get to Sam and fight these demons, which he manages to kill. At least one of them. I think he kills both of them, but I'm not sure. Dean runs outside and finds Sam lying on the ground. He's got blood pouring down the side of his head, and there's no sign of Nick. Dean calls his mom as we see Nick hijacking a truck down the street, flagging the guy down, because of course you see a guy on the side of the road covered with blood waving their arms. You're probably going to stop, and he throws the guy out of the car, the truck. Thankfully he didn't kill him, surprisingly enough, bloodthirsty SOB that he is. Dean calls his mom, and he's explaining to his mom what's happened with Sam. He's trying to get Sam to stay with him. He's playing some kind of accounting game with him to keep Sam awake and conscious. They've already called an ambulance, but it's going to take them 20 minutes to get there. We see Nick finding a cabin where he starts this ritual involving blood and his blood and the blood that he got from Jack and all this other stuff. And before Mary and Jack leave the Batcave, Jack doubles over in pain. He says that he feels like his blood is burning. Nick starts to chant, and the empty opens up, and this figure of Lucifer appears. We can't really, we can see a being. They're like covered in black gunk, and they've got these red eyes and the wings and all that, and it's really, really scary. Lucifer holds his hand out to Nick, and Nick holds his hand out. He wants to join again with Lucifer and have Lucifer be Lucifer's vessel, because Nick is crazier than a sack of ferrets. I don't know. Mary and Jack appear in the room, and that drives Lucifer back, and he's thrown back into the empty. And Jack manages to, first of all, he starts to, I don't know if torture is the right word, because torture implies the person doesn't deserve it, and boy does Nick deserve this. Jack uses his powers to break all of Nick's fingers on the one hand, where he's the hand that he held out to Lucifer. His fingers all start like bending backwards, and there's really this awful cracking noise. And it was really good. I really was like, you deserve this. You deserve every little bit of it. And then Jack's eyes are continuing to glow yellow, or golden, I should say. And you can tell from what's happening to Nick that he's burning. Jack is burning him from the inside out as Mary keeps telling him to stop, and Nick falls to the ground dead. We cut back to the road where I think Donatello's followed them out by this point, I'm pretty sure, as Sam is lying there on the ground, and it's very obvious he's very, very injured and possibly dying. Dean's desperately trying to keep Sam to hold on, even though at one point you can tell that Sam's fading. He's fading. He tells Dean that he always, meaning Dean always put him first his whole life, and then Sam goes really, really quiet. And we cut back to the cabin for a second, where Mary's looking at Jack, and the look on her face is fear. There's no other word for it. That's fear. But she tells him to go help Sam. Jack appears on the road where the Winchesters and Donatello are, and he leans down and he touches Sam's face, and all of a sudden Sam's completely healed. The blood's gone. Sam kind of takes this big gasp of air, and he's fine. We cut back to this cabin, wherever it is, and Mary's stepped outside to get away from the charred dead body inside. I really kind of don't blame her. Jack comes back to the cabin. He tells Mary that he had to do what he did, that he was a bad person, and he had to stop Nick from what he was doing. Mary tells him he didn't have to stop him like that, and Jack says that he deserved it, which is true. Would it have been easier if Jack had just gone and just broke Nick's neck? Yeah, it probably would have been, but sometimes your anger gets the best of you, Jack asks Mary if everything's okay. She asks him to take them home, and he's basically like, I want to hear you say that everything's okay. But the problem is she can't. She tells him everything's not okay. And she said, she's asking him, well, she tells him that if the brothers saw what he had done, they would be concerned about him too. and Jack asks if she's going to tell them. She doesn't say yes, like, he almost asks, almost like a little kid asking, are you going to tell on me? Kind of a thing. And she says that he needs help, and they'll help him. She says they're family. Jack says that they can't help him. And she says that, they can help, that they care about him. He kind of moves away from Mary, but the thing is, as he's hearing her talk and she's trying to reach him, he's got his hand up to his head because he's hearing some kind of a noise. It's some kind of a high-pitched kind of sound. And he keeps asking her to leave him alone. He keeps saying, leave me alone. And it's not really clear if he's saying, leave me alone to Mary, or if he's saying, leave me alone to this kind of noise that he's got in his ear, this kind of really high-pitched, almost dog whistle high noise, and it's really upsetting him and hurting him and scaring him. And Mary's still, it's very obvious whatever he's hearing, she can't hear it. And she's pleading with him to listen. And he screams at her, leave me alone, and his eyes are glowing this gold color, and all of a sudden the screen just abruptly goes black. And we hear Jack's voice very worriedly say, Mary? And the episode ends. Wow. Oh boy. 4.5 stars for me from game night. What looked like it could have been a real fun, exciting, what looked like it was going to be kind of a funny episode at the beginning with the whole mousetrap stuff and all that. That obviously was not where we were going with this. And wow. It was exciting. It scared me. I thought it was an amazing episode. I really did. I'm sorry. I know some people really didn't like it. I was really happy to see, NIL back again and hear a little more of her backstory. Anytime we get to see Danielle Ackles is a great thing, obviously, because she's amazing actress, very beautiful lady, and part of our little family of misfit toys, I suppose. I guess I don't know, to word Supernatural fans and family members. Terrific episode, absolutely wonderful all the way around. Next week's episode is called Absence. Now, we know there were 3 episodes left in season 14 of Supernatural. We now know the names of all 3 episodes. This coming week, the episode is called Absence. The week after that is Jack in the Box. And the last episode of season 14 is called Mariah. Not like Mariah Carey, Mariah. If you don't know what Mariah is, or specifically where Mariah is, I suggest you look it up. It'll give you a hint about what may or may not be coming. And it's kind of scary. We know that Absence is next week, and we know at some point in this episode, somehow Nick is, if this is a hallucination or whatever, because Nick is definitely dead. Ding dong. I won't finish the rest of that. It doesn't really rhyme or anything like that, but anyway. But we also know at one point in this episode, and it looks like he's saying it to Castiel, when Dean says, "You're dead to me." This is not going to be a Sunshine and Duckies and Bunnies episode. And what the heck happened with Mary? Show, don't do this to me. This show's going to drive me to drink. I swear. Okay, before I head out of here, cats and kittens, I'd like to bring up something that TC and I happened to go to this week. We caught the new part of the DC extended movie universe, Shazam. I gotta be honest, guys, I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. It was so much fun. If you get a chance, definitely check out Shazam. It is a blast. And hopefully, if you guys have any questions, comments, queries, complaints, chocolate, money, anything like that you want to send my way, platinumroselle@yahoo.com. You can follow me on Twitter at platinumroselady at twitter.com. You can also check out my writings at fanfiction.net. Over at fanfiction.net, you can check it out over on the search section. Put in Platinum Rose Lady. You can look me up over there. And it would be really great if you would check out the other shows that are part of our little island of misfit toys: Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, Catastrophe, Vortex. What else have we got out there? I'm sorry, I drew on a blank. Ring Around the Rosie, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, Cavebabble, and our buddy Anthony Lamberti over on Ampy's Nerd Grotto over on YouTube. We do have a Patreon, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can get an exclusive Patreon show that I have right now called Kaiju Corner, which is my look at monster movies, of which I am a big fan. And I hope you will like, share, and subscribe to all our shows, because we work really hard on them, and we like to bring you some fun stuff to just kind of take you out of yourself for a little while and have some fun and listen to a bunch of wacky people talk on the interwebs. So, that is gonna do it for another week here. I am off to get ready for WrestleMania 35, so hopefully you will enjoy that as well as I will. I hope Roman Reigns is back. Yay! So, this is Platinum Rose Lady signing off for another week and reminding you to love the ones you hug the ones you love, and take some time to stop and smell the roses. I'll see you around. Bye.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNRNetworks.